Hello, good evening, Justice Warriors. What is good? How's it going, folks? It's just a little bit after 5:30 on Tuesday. It's June 11th. Oh, well, I do have some good news. I took my dog Coco to the vet this morning, and it, she might be in the clear, so I'll take it. I'll take that. Um, how is the lighting? It looks like my face is like my chin is darker than the rest. I don't understand. How does this stuff work? My goodness. I just won't worry about it. I just like to have my chakra tower. I like to have you guys, and I like to have my notes so I have something to talk about. How are you guys doing tonight? If you are here, I saw it said that two people were watching, so maybe you're just not able to comment, or maybe you had to step away. Anywho, let's just start with the regular, the thumb, the thumb. Please hit that like button if you'd be so kind. And make sure I can speak, really. Hey, Sherry Williams. Hello there. How are you tonight? Make sure that you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not, please consider just hitting that button. It's no commitment, doesn't cost you anything. It helps the algorithm quite a bit. Share one of my videos if you think you might know somebody who likes this type of thing. Doing good. Nice to hear. And turn on your notification bell to ring so you know when I'm coming on, because heck, half the time I don't know when I'm coming on. This is why I try to get things done at the top of the day, because then it's just one thing after another. And this morning I had to get that dog to her vet appointment. And yeah, I couldn't ask for a better vet appointment. I mean, they didn't say that she's free and clear, but they didn't say that they were concerned either. So at this point, we're just kind of maintaining. Cosmic Kate, hello, hello. How are you? I'm going to pin a couple of your messages there, Sherry and Kate. So today, I have been paying attention to the Meredith Kercher case still. I am very drawn in by that case. Also, the Micah Miller case. As you know, always, always, always the Kylie Rodney case. And I think those are kind of the only three that I'm planning to speak about, except I did want to speak more on the Kendrick Johnson case. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Kendrick Johnson. If you're familiar with Kendrick Johnson, put a 1 in chat. If you have no idea who I'm talking about, put a 2 in chat. I'm just real curious with the three of us if we can do a little, survey, a little micro survey. And I'll tell you who Kendrick Johnson is, but I'd just like to know where you guys are at. Okay, no clue. Let me start there, because Kendrick Johnson is a young black boy who was unalived. I think he was 17, and it was in Georgia. And it's a really bizarre story. I will put a link to Christina Randall's video on him, because that was where I first learned about his case. And I think that the case is as crazy as can be. It was ruled an accidental unaliving on his own accord. It happened during school hours in a high school gym, mat that was about like 6 feet rolled up, standing up on its and he was inside of it with a lot of the red stuff. He was inside of it head down, and there's videotape of him in the hallway, because this is a big high school with surveillance cameras everywhere, the way a lot of high schools have to be these days. And then there's a bunch of surveillance footage missing. But the main point of why I want to bring up his story is because the person that looks like the perpetrator, and let me just say, everything I say is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of starting a conversation, hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. All these videos that I make are for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. So Kendrick had a love interest who had, I don't know if she allegedly cheated on her boyfriend or if she was on a break with her boyfriend, but that kid looks like the one who did it. And it looks like Kendrick was pummeled, basically. And his father was an FBI agent, the other kid, the white boy. And it drug on and on and on for years. Kendrick Johnson's family is still continuing to fight. I just looked him up the other day, and they have $1 billion lawsuit, maybe against the school. I'm not sure. I didn't look at it today. But they had exhumed him and exhumed his remains. The case was reopened. The case was closed with the same disposition, accidental by self, right? And it's horrifying. So the FBI agent has since been resigned, as have a slew of other individuals that were involved. It wasn't their case, of course. I mean, it was at a school. It was like the county sheriff or the local PD. But because the kid's dad was a federal agent and a really high up-ranking federal agent, not that that even matters. A federal agent is a federal agent. Anyway, the whole thing went sideways. It's been sideways since jump. It's extremely sad. Kendrick Johnson's family has pleaded for people to continue to keep his name alive and keep talking about him. And the reason I'm bringing it up, not just to do justice for him and for his family, is because for anybody who doesn't believe that being connected can't make something go away, that's a really good case to look at, because it's pretty freaking obvious to me. In my estimation, it would be obvious to anybody looking at the case that this kid did not climb himself into that cylinder, and they didn't just happen to lose the footage. Okay. Pretty basic. What's even scarier to me, being like a domestic violence advocate of decreasing domestic violence and increasing awareness, what's really concerning to me is that boy, the white boy, married the white girl that they may or may not have been rivals over. So they got married, I think it was just this past June of 2023. I'll have to look. I'll, again, put that in the description. It's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. And yeah, Christina Randall does such a great job telling the story. Sorry that I'm not doing such a great job telling the story. I wish that I was doing a lot better, because it's a really fascinating story. And yeah, I'll just leave it to Christina. She's a pro. Me, I'm just an amateur over here. Teach me about Kendrick. Oh, Annie, you're so cute. I found you during the Kylie Rodney case. Oh, Sherry Williams, that's where I started my channel. I had been thinking about it for a while, and then Kylie Rodney's case, I was just like, I got to do it. I've got to do it. And Anna Bees is here too. So let's see who else we got in house. Yes, I remember that case. Definitely foul play. Well, and it still stands. It is so hard to get a case reopened. They got that case reopened at least once, if not twice. And then it was closed with the same disposition. So that was really, really sad. I think it was twice. I think the last time might have been in 2021. I'm about 100% sure he was exhumed twice. So that would mean that the case was probably reopened twice. And let's see, B, redacted message. Yeah. Oh, that one, baloney, no way did it alone. Well, right. And you're not going to have that missing footage just, as a coinky dink. I mean, what's so horrifying is that it happened in the school gym during school hours. That is insane. And that the kid so far has gotten away with it. I mean, his dad lost his job. A bunch of other folks lost their jobs. But I'm pretty sure that that boy, who is a young man now, is a very dangerous individual, especially for anybody who would know what actually happened, and the woman that he married would know. So I think she's in a very dangerous predicament for sure. So yeah, I spoke about that the other day, and I don't know how many people are in agreement with me that it's quite possible, and jumping into the Gabby Petito case here real quick, it's quite possible that Brian Laundrie felt like he had to unalive Gabby because she knew something that he didn't want to be revealed. And when I say that, I'm thinking specifically about Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner, the married female couple that lived up there on LaSalle Loop Road, that was shot 2 days after the domestic violence call of August 12th, 2021, I believe. And for all we know, there could be other people too that Brian Laundrie victimized. I think that when he was on the run, there were some unsolved unalivings in areas where people thought that they saw him. There was one guy, do you guys remember this? There was one guy who swore that he saw Brian Laundrie in the Appalachian Mountain area, and he had an interaction with him that spooked the bejesus out of him. And it really sounded quite plausible that if he hadn't gotten spooked and he hadn't hightailed it, that he might have been a victim of this guy that he thinks was Brian Laundrie. So, let's see what else. Annie Ruler, Cosmic Kate, Anna Bees, Sherry, and is that everyone? Am I missing anyone? Thanks so much for coming in, you guys, and thanks for being in the chat, keeping it active. So yeah, my brain is not as sharp at the end of the day as it is at the beginning. So you might notice that I'm just, I tend to kind of get really relaxed and I don't know, just chill. Like evening is usually when I do my yoga. So I was gonna hopefully do some yoga after this live. But what I wanted to talk about with the Meredith Kercher case is that cocky Amanda Knox, her ex-boyfriend, if you can even call him that, her squeeze of 6 whole days, Raffaella Solicito, that his family recently said on Italian television that they think that Knox might be guilty. I was not aware of this. I just heard this today in a True Crime Rocket Science video that he put out today that I'll put a link to in the description. I found that fascinating because if they think she might be guilty, I don't know how they can continue to think that their son is entirely innocent, especially with his hammer toe footprint on the bath mat in the red stuff. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I used an image of that hammer toe footprint in a thumbnail from a few days ago. Half of the thumbnail is Meredith Kercher's beautiful face, and then the other half is the bath mat with the weirdest footprint. His hammer toe is his big toe, which it's not always. It can be any toe. But his footprint looks like this. Like his big toe sticks out super far. All of his other toes are like way down here. And I went over the stats with you guys the other day that just a quick Google search told me that only 3% of the population has hammer toe, and that it's more women than males that have it. So that would bring the percentage down to under 1.5% of the population. And then to have that foot be the same size and to have it be the same toe with the hammer toe that he's got. And then just all the stories, story after story after story. It seems that that's one of the biggest pieces of evidence in my mind that implicates both of them. So interesting that his family would try to say that they think Amanda might be guilty, but they're not realizing that they might be implicating him by saying that. Or maybe they do realize it and they don't care. I mean, it doesn't seem like that guy has a single good relationship in the world. Like his life is crap, which is what he deserves. And Amanda, hers should be crap too, in my humble opinion. And yeah, it's unbelievable to me what she's put her whole family through, the whole Italian population through, Meredith's family, primarily Meredith's family, and the American population too. Like these narcissists don't care who they traumatize, who they inconvenience. Number one is gonna be number one, and that's it. And so that was a quote that I said yesterday from that Red Hot Chili Peppers song. What is the name of the song? I had it written down. I put it in the description from yesterday. Anyway, it's escaping me at the moment. I can't think on the spot, especially in the afternoon. So, yeah, the thing that I wanted to continue to hammer away at and hit home that applies directly to Micah Miller's case is that element of the narcissist and the personality disturbed individual, that those folks are really set off by any slight at all, like any perceived slight, even if it's not a slight. And when I say slight, I'm talking about a rejection or, just being disregarded. People with the cluster B personality disorders cannot handle rejection. And sometimes they perceive something as a rejection when it's not a rejection. So when it is a rejection, when it's a straightforward, like, no, I don't like you, they lose their crap. And when they're in a relationship with a significant other, like JP and Micah, when they get served those divorce papers is when their victim is going to be in the most dangerous predicament of their life. And the victims usually know that, which is why so many stay. It's why so many go back, is to preserve being alive, because they fear what will happen. They believe that this person will take their life. So they, out of self-preservation, just suck it up and go back. I mean, we've all known people in those situations, haven't we? It's very disturbing and it's hard to understand. But I think anyone who's been in the situation themselves or has known someone that's been in the situation like that, it makes sense. So the narcissists are triggered by the rejection. It's the fear of abandonment. It's like the most basic primal fear that any of us have, just for survival. And when they perceive an abandonment, they go straight to rage and they're seeing red and they can't stop themselves. When you're dealing with somebody like Brian Laundrie, in my opinion, JP Miller, and perhaps even like Scammy in the Kylie Rodney case. Scammy was possibly rejected by Jägermeister and the young Hamburglar kid, and may have felt rejected by Kylie, either on a social level or on a romantic level, I don't know. I don't really like to speculate about that, but I think that it would be ignorant to rule that out and not look at that as a possibility. But yeah, I mean, nobody likes rejection, right? Breaking up is always hard, but in a relationship with a narcissist, they will go completely off the deep end. So thinking back to like Fatal Attraction or Blue Lagoon, remember that one with Brooke Shields where the boyfriend like burned the house down? I mean, people do these things. People do these things in real life, and it's pretty grisly. Let's see. I think Brian is probably still out there, so that's scary. I agree, Anna Bees. I totally think he's still out there. Actually, Christina Randall did a video about a year ago, I think it was, about somebody thinking that they saw Brian Laundrie in Mexico. And I wanted to watch it because Christina doesn't really do much with speculation. Like, she'll always tell you her opinion at the end of her videos, but she pretty much goes with the hard, dry facts. So it is really interesting to me when she puts together a video like that. But with that said, I haven't watched it, so I don't really know what she says in the video. And not to throw any shade at her because I love her, but sometimes her titles can be a little misleading, like clickbait, where I'm like, oh, good, she finally sees the light. And then it's like, nope, that's not what she's saying. She's saying that she is still going to go with the status quo. And, you know, when you're a big channel like that, it's pretty tough not to go with the status quo because you are a target. You're definitely a target. And even, yeah, let me just keep up with you guys. I never knew all that about Amanda Knox. Oh, Anna B's True Crime Rocket Science and Roberta Glass are two of the content creators that I've followed a lot of their work on Meredith Kercher's case. They're both very, very thorough. And, you know, like me, Roberta Glass once believed the status quo, Amanda Knox is not guilty BS. I don't know about Nick from True Crime Rocket Science. I don't know if he was ever in that camp or not. But, you know, Roberta Glass and I are both from the United States of America, and our United States mainstream media was highly censored by CNN back then. CNN paid for all of her lawyer fees, all of her family's travel expenses, food and lodging, everything. She was their cash cow. And, you know, the Knox family has used Meredith's red stuff and loss of life as their cash cow. And it's hideous. It's absolutely disgusting. But Amanda won't stop talking about the case. And the more she talks about it, I think the more it backfires. And, you know, the more she tries to convince people, because a lot of people are convinced that she's innocent. Like, she doesn't really need to keep convincing people because she's not being held in prison. And if she would just move on, the case would probably just be forgotten about by so many. I mean, obviously not the people that love Meredith, her family, and her close friends. But, you know, nothing is ever enough. And that's why Amanda was trying to get the guilty verdict of her slander of Patrick Lumumba. That's why she was trying to get that overturned, because it wasn't enough to her to have everything else overturned. She was like, oh, this one little thing is still tainting and tarnishing my reputation. And it's like, well, that's because you tainted and tarnished his reputation. So thank goodness that the conviction was upheld and she was reconvicted. And I doubt she'll let it go, because people like that pretty much can't. They're very obsessive, self-absorbed, and stubborn. Very calculating, conniving manipulators like JP Ultra. So I want to speak to some things that I learned about him today. I did not know, maybe you guys did know, that Micah was in the process of trying to reclaim her last name of Micah Francis. Micah Acacia Francis. We've all heard the full name. I didn't realize that she was trying to legally change her name back, which, of course, she was going through a divorce. So, JP, on the other hand, is doing everything in his power to not allow that, because her family is still trying to move forward with that in her honor and in her name and in their name. And JP's fighting it tooth and nail. And why? I mean, that just makes him look like such a controlling pig, which he pretty much is, right? Let's see what you guys are saying here. Hi, Jazz, late but here. Hey, Sherry Irvin, how you doing, girl? I'm doing great. I took Coco to a follow-up appointment today, and the cancer is under control. We don't know if it's in remission. It might be in remission. So that's, as far as we know, it might be in remission. So that's about as good as it gets right now. Coco's 10 years old. I never knew all that about Amanda Knox. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped your Sherry. Now I'm like, huh? What? Did I say hi twice? Am I that out of it? It's like I said, I'm not too sharp at the end of the day, which is why I don't normally do my videos at the end of the day. But I do go on other people's panels, but that's a lot easier because you're just a guest, right? And the hardest thing for me being a guest is just to like not speak out of turn, especially if there's more than one guest. But even if I'm the only guest, it's like, just to have the back and forth and without visual cues, because you're just usually, your little thumbnail thing, just your little profile pic. It's hard to know. And so, I'm not the only one that's like that. I see a lot of people on lives do that, where they're like trying to say something at the same time. And they keep interrupting each other and they keep stopping. No, you go. No, you go. No, you. It's hilarious. Anyway, a waitress could reject my kid's dad and I would be in trouble. Ugh. Annie Ruler, I hear what you're saying because I know your story somewhat. So for people that don't know, that might be like, what is she talking about? So Annie Ruler was married to a narcissist. So if her husband felt slighted by the waitress, she would be in trouble. So would that be if you were there? If you weren't there, it probably wouldn't even matter. But yeah. Yeah, I think he could well be out there. Yeah, you're talking about laundry, douchebag laundry. And Fred Field, hello, no notification, even though I unsubbed and resubbed. Oh, I'm so sorry, Fred. I wish there was something I could do about that. Until you talked about Amanda Knox, I celebrated her release when I was on vacation. I had no idea. I was the same way. I really had no idea until I came across True Crime Rocket Science's vast knowledge of the case. So when I first delved into his work about it, he had written 3 books on Meredith Kercher. And at this point in time, he's written 6. So he knows that case inside out and backwards, as does Roberta Glass. I don't know that she's written any books, but that's neither here nor there. She just knows the case extremely thoroughly, extremely in depth. And there's some facts that I know of that, you can hang your hat on, like Meredith Kercher's DNA being on the blade of the sharp weapon that can be used as a kitchen utensil in the drawer back at Solicito's apartment. So also on the handle of that same sharp kitchen slicing object is Amanda Knox's DNA. So the DNA being corrupted is what they overturned the convictions on twice. But let me say this, I don't think I've said this on my channel before, that there was none of Amanda Knox's DNA in her own bedroom at her own house. her DNA was commingled in the red stuff with Meredith Kercher's DNA, but there was no DNA of hers in her own room. And then her DNA was also in the bedroom of the one roommate where they staged the break-in, allegedly staged the break-in. It was not until sometime in the last few months that Amanda Knox admitted having staged a break-in in Seattle before she went on that trip to Italy in 2007, just a few months before, for like a prank or something for a friend. She staged a break-in. So that's kind of odd. Like, how many of us have ever staged a break-in? And, you know, history has a way of repeating itself. So if she staged a break-in a few months before Meredith Kercher's case, and then that break-in was 100% staged, that was not a real break-in. So if she didn't stage it, somebody else did. But her DNA was in that room, and there would be no reason for her DNA to be in that room because that was a different roommate entirely. That was not a room that she would have her DNA in, but she would have her DNA in her own room, but there wasn't any there. So that's pretty thorough cleaning. I don't know how anybody does that, but the red stuff intermingled, Meredith's red stuff and Amanda's red stuff. I wonder if Amanda didn't get a bloody nose, because we know that Meredith had almost a black belt in martial arts. But also one of them had an earring ripped out, and Amanda talked about her earrings. So I'm thinking it was probably her earring that was ripped out, because she was trying to explain away the red stuff in her bathroom, like on the mat and the drips on the sink, that when she first saw it, she wasn't concerned because she thought maybe it was from her recent piercings. And then she realized, oh, that's too much red stuff to be from my piercings. But somebody, I think, had an earring ripped out. So maybe it was her. Maybe that was part of Meredith's fighting back. A lot of people don't know about the scratch on Amanda's neck that was like over an inch long, about a quarter of an inch wide, that looks very much like a fingernail scratch. And I have photographs of that, I think, at my community posts. Maybe I've used it in a thumbnail. Maybe I'll use it in tonight's thumbnail, because more people need to be aware of that scrape on her neck. All of the people at the police station, most of those people being Meredith's friends, noticed the scratch on her neck and wondered what the heck it was. So let's see. Hey, Nico Mingo. Cute. Hi, Zena. Zena was my code name when I was a guest on What's the Obsession, when I made my YouTube debut. And I was going to ask Kelly, I forgot to ask her if she knows exactly which video that was, so that I can like pin it for you guys, or just so I can watch it, because that would be funny to watch, like the first video that I was ever on. And she was so nice. She like rolled out the red carpet for me and made me sound like some brilliant expert in the Watts case and in mental health. And, you know, I didn't feel like either, but she was like, you know a lot. You know a lot. So she definitely helped boost my confidence and my experience to get myself going with my own channel. So I owe Kelly my YouTube life. Also, I owe a lot to Paula Plunder. She was extremely encouraging and helpful along the way. She was the first one to recommend it to me, and I was just like, what? Me? I'm Amish. I don't even know a YouTube. I mean, I'm just not very tech savvy, and I'm not really into it. But yeah, she kept encouraging me. They both did. They were both like, you'd be really good at it. Just do it. Just do it. And I was like, maybe, maybe not. And then I really didn't think I ever would, because I think over a year had passed that I was considering it. And I kind of have this 12-month rule for myself. When I plan to do something, if I don't do it within 12 months, then it's off the table. Like if I buy a bunch of fabric to, say, make my first quilt, which I haven't done that yet, but that's a good example. If I purchase the fabric to make my first quilt and I have it for over 12 months and I haven't started, then I'm like, okay, time to give that project away or something. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll flex the 12-month rule, but that's just kind of my rule of thumb. So, I had way surpassed the 12-month mark with not starting my YouTube channel. And so I really didn't think that I would. And then Kylie Rodney's case happened, and I was like, I have to. I can't not. And I'm so glad that I did. I had no idea how much fun it would be, you guys. I just thought it would be a ton of work. Work. And it is. It's a ton of work, but it's also so much fun. You guys make it very rewarding. And I had no idea what I was getting into. Zero. Even though I should have had a clue just from, my interactions with my mentors and all the other shows and channels that I watched. But it's sort of like being a parent. I like to say nothing can prepare you. So yeah, nothing can really prepare you for being a content creator because there's so much to it. And, I'm always complaining to you guys that the lighting is the hardest part. But the other thing that really bothers me that I'm just noticing right now on this video, because I don't think I had it on yesterday's video, but I did have it on the one before that, is when I look like I'm tilted the whole time. I don't know. I thought I looked tilted on the video a couple days ago, and then I didn't think I looked tilted on yesterday's. And maybe if I turn this way, I don't look so tilted today, because that drives me nuts when I'm watching it. And I'm like, why do I look like I'm falling over? But it's hard because, wait, the other side, because of that, because the chakra tower, because that's like my focus. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It was totally spontaneous. I saw the plant stand at the store. I thought that's kind of ugly for a plant stand because it's white. And then I went home and then I thought, wait, how many shelves does it have? Because if it has 7, you could make it a chakra tower. And I went back to the store. It was still there and it had 7. And so I bought it. It was $30. And then it took me a long time to build it. And it is complete, you guys. It is complete. There is, in a perfect chakra rainbow, you're going to have purple at the top. So I guess it's not 100% complete because I have a clear globe at the top. That's the only one that I don't have purple. But my yoga instructor says that sometimes the top chakra is not purple. Sometimes it's gold and sometimes it's like clear. So I have a clear one. Anyway, you guys aren't here for my chakra tower, right? Nico says US MSN did a great job of assuring no sympathy for the victim, in my opinion, similar to Idaho 4. Wow, Nico, that's a really good assessment. 100%, you nailed it, because yeah, nobody even knew Meredith Kercher's name. I try really hard to use her name and not Miss Knox's name because she's so obnoxious and she's all about herself. And the case is all about Meredith. And yeah, she is a very, very precious and pretty young woman, but there's not as many photographs of her, and maybe she's not quite as photogenic as Little Miss Amanda, but she's gorgeous. She's absolutely a very, very attractive person. And I'm trying to talk about her in the present because it's just so sad to talk about her in the past. Just yesterday, I was thinking she would be 40 right now, I think, Meredith Kercher, because she was 21, maybe, when it happened. And it was 2007, so 17 years ago. Maybe she was 22. So maybe she'd be 39. Anyway, yeah, her family deserves to have her and to have her memory be upheld. And the video that she was in, the music video that I'm always referencing, you guys, I'm pretty sure that video dropped just a few weeks before she was had her life taken from her. So, she was selected to be in this music video because obviously the people that asked her to be in it thought she was the cat's meow, the cat's pajamas. There's a lot of people in the video, but definitely centers around her. And she had a very distinctive look, like not a cute little Barbie look, but a very alluring and seductive and serious and deep kind of look. Yeah. So there were a couple other things I wanted to say about Micah. I don't want to forget. One of the things that made me really suspicious with JP, I found it so bizarre, is in that first little TikTok video that he did a couple of days ago, where he says, I have 350 pieces of evidence to share with everybody to show how innocent I am. And he's talking about Micah in the present tense at the beginning. He also he chose this really strange word to describe how well he knew her. He used the word correspondence. I have had more correspondence with her than anyone else on this planet. It's like, wait, you were married to her. I think you had more than correspondence. Like that's really alluding to emails and texts, in my opinion. So I thought that was kind of hilarious, again, that he told on himself by using that word, that, yeah, that's what he had with her, was correspondence, because he certainly didn't have a real marriage. A real marriage does not pick up professional, people from that industry of walking the streets on the way home from a nice dinner. In a real marriage, in my humble opinion, a real marriage isn't where you threaten your partner to put photographs of them in disrobed on social media, and then you do it. Oh, and then you take it down after only an hour and try to act like it's no big deal because it was only an hour. You don't put tracking devices on your spouse. Well, I guess these days we all have tracking devices on our spouses, right? If you have like the Life 360 thing, which I don't look at it, but everybody else in my family looks at it so that we all know where each other are. So, but yeah, I mean, that's consensual. That's not, doing that without someone's consent is stalking and harassing. And, JP is stalking and harassing Micah even in the afterlife. Seriously, you guys, that was what I thought of today when I was listening to JLR's most recent live. Stalking her and harassing her in the afterlife. He cannot stop. I mean, he's certainly stalking and harassing her family just by doing this crap on social media and pretty much naming them and directing his words and his thoughts towards them. Yeah, it's just awful. Absolutely awful. And until her cause of death is changed from self-induced, to use his word, self-inflicted, to unknown at the very least, it's going to be really hard for anything to actually happen in the case, as far as for so many people that believe that she did not take her own life and that somebody else did it to her. So it's really, really rough. And that's why I was thinking of the Kendrick Johnson case, because even in that case where they did reopen the case twice, they never changed the cause of unaliving from accidental. And it was clear that he had the tar beaten out of him. It wasn't just the one kid. The one kid had a brother, and it was probably the two of them. I think they were both like the football stars, but they both had that dad, the same dad. And so the one kid with the girlfriend or the ex-girlfriend was probably the the kingpin, the ringleader, but the other brother and Kendrick, the three of them are like all on the surveillance footage in the hallway right outside of the gym right before it happened. And that's one of the best pieces of evidence against those boys, is that they swore up and down that they never saw him that day. And so I'm pretty sure they're walking with him, and one of them is on either side. But I know for a fact that they're on the surveillance footage seeing him. So you see them see him. and because they said they didn't see him that day, that's what you can hang your hat on. So that's where criminals often hang themselves, is by saying things like always and never. If the police in Meredith Kercher's case asked, I don't know if they did, but if they had asked Amanda Knox if she'd ever been in the bedroom where the break-in was staged, and she said no, she'd never been in there, then that would be a really great piece of evidence against her when her DNA is in there, if she's trying to claim that she's never been there. So that's why law enforcement detectives ask some questions that might seem really innocuous, like hopping over into the Watts case, asking NK if she'd ever been in that house. What do you want to bet they found her DNA in that house? What do you want to bet that there was DNA in that house from her being there the night of the familicide? But they can't prove that the DNA was there at that time, even though, the house was so freaking clean all the time. And then I think that there was a lot of cleaning that happened after the familicide. But that might be why they were asking her if she'd ever been there, was because they found her DNA there. See, I don't think that's ever been information shared in the case. I should ask Kelly, because I've never heard anything like that. But wouldn't that be wild if that was part of their angle of grilling NK? One of their questions for her that really stumped her was when they asked her how she accessed the house when she was there. First she said she hadn't been there, and then she admitted to having been there only twice. And then they asked her, how did you gain access to the house? And she just stops and says, wow, that's a really good question. So she's pausing and she's buying time because she's trying to figure out how she can answer and lie without hanging herself up. And then she says very slowly, because again, she's still thinking, once through the garage and once through the front door. like she's not sure. And it's like, I'm going to bet she accessed that house through the back too, because Chris Watts was very specific in saying that there's no cameras in the back. And that's why a lot of people that study the case talk about the back. It was not a walkout basement. There was no door, but there were the windows. And so a lot of people think that there was activity in the basement that night. Kelly with Watts the Obsession has gone over it in great detail recently, with the cadaver dogs that hit on like the freezer and maybe a big tote in the basement. But then the Vivint had a lot of activity on the stairs. And that was something that always blew my mind. Excuse me while I wipe my nose. When Tammy asks Chris, this is in the February, the follow-up interview where they go talk to him in Wisconsin, and they bring up the Vivint, a lot of activity on the stairs to the basement, and they ask him why that would be, and he just tries to shrug it off. I don't know. And then they're trying to get it out of him. My thought is that it was more than just his feet going up and down those stairs, that there were several sets of feet. So finally, the best information that he'll give them is that like he doesn't think that he worked out that morning. Maybe I don't know why there would be activity on those steps. It's crazy. He's a freaking nut. Anyway, justice for Kylie, yeah, my dear Kylie, and then with her music video having dropped sometime that last year before her tragic disappearance or unaliving. Especially since feds released news yesterday that they found a gun and clip near Gabby's remains. Yeah, Fred, thank you. I saw that on a thumbnail. I didn't watch it yet because I just was like, what are they talking about? So remember when people were speculating that Brian Laundrie might have been the one to have shot the same-sex couple, and the argument was like, no, he didn't have a gun, or should I say weapon? He didn't have a firearm. And then lo and behold, he allegedly takes his own life with a firearm. So that was annoying. It's like, nobody's going to drive cross country without a firearm, in my opinion. I mean, you'd be stupid not to. As much as I'm against those things, I wouldn't recommend anybody driving cross country without one, because all kinds of crazy stuff can happen on the road. So especially a young couple, in their early 20s, and a cutie like Gabby, and then a little windbag like him, like, you better have some protection. You don't look tilted to me. Your set is beautiful, all tuned up. Aw, thanks, Annie. I'm just so excited about the Chakra Tower. And then, like I said, that incident, it was just yesterday that the Cobalt one at the top rolled down, and I thought it could have broken all of them. I mean, it was like the domino effect. And it only broke, I think, 2 of the glass plates and then the green ball that I had there that wasn't a very good one anyway. So now I have the clear one with a green candle behind it, and it works perfect. So where are we at? Oh my goodness, we're already getting close to an hour. So let me catch up with you guys and then check my notes and then try to wrap up. Also some arrows for a crossbow. Yeah, well, this is why I wonder about other potential victims with him, with the kind of things that he talked about and read, just the kind of person that he is or was. So he probably flew home after the REDRUMs in Moab and told his parents and got a lawyer then. And then he had to go back to make sure that Gabby couldn't tell anybody. Or a threat. If I end up with a thing in my cranium, I didn't do it, he did, that tells me he threatened exactly how the plan would go down. Oh, Nico, really sharp, good point. Yeah. I don't think her voice had any hesitancy in the 911 call, and I also feel there was an AI assist in creating the live call. Yeah, I have never thought that call seemed like the real deal. Through the basement window. Yeah. Talking about the NK and Watts, and there could have been 1 or 2 others involved too. There's a lot of shady business in that case that all got covered up by the DA because he wanted to pin it all on one person, which is typical. It's absolutely typical that that the criminal wants to confess, to take the full blame, to protect their posse. And it's also typical that law enforcement wants to wrap it up tight with one person so that it's less work. If there's more than one person, that's a lot more work, huh? Curious about that past Vivint knows how much you are walking in a house. Curious about that part. Vivint knows how much you are walking in a house. So that's really curious, Anna. And I mean, from the way they're talking about it, it sounds like Vivint knows that there were footsteps going up and down the stairs. but maybe it's just that the door kept opening. I don't know. It's a really good point. So let's see. I think that's everything that I have in my notes here. I think, oh, the Alec Baldwin trial should be coming up next month, right? And he's trying to force little ninny, what's her face? I can't even think of her name right now. The armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed. He's trying to compel her to testify at his trial. But why did he not testify at her trial other than that because he's a movie star, right? Yeah. That's going to be interesting, huh? So, yeah, he's trying to force her hand to testify. I have a few notes over here. And yeah, Anadarko, that company, we know with the Watts case that Anadarko was going through a merger. Did you know that NK's father owned a company that contracted with Anadarko? And I think that that's the company that NK worked for, because she was not an Anadarko employee. She was an employee of a different company that contracted with Anadarko. So Dwayne Kessinger owned some type of company. What I'm trying to say is that he's kind of a heavy hitter. Like, he had connections, obviously, for him to have been in that room with the interview, the 3-hour and 33-minute interview with his daughter when she's 30, I mean, if she was 14, then of course you're going to have the parent there, but she was 30. And then the way he ran the interview and the way when he said, we just need to stomp this thing out as quickly as we can, he hits the table. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Stomp this thing out. You've got toddlers, an unborn baby, and a mother that have all been wiped out. Stomp this thing out? Like, what thing? I think he just told on himself right there, told on his daughter. Stomp this thing out. So the thing I was going to say is Anadarko was going through a multi-billion-dollar merger with a much bigger company. Anadarko doesn't exist anymore, but that merger had been underway for a while when the Watts tragedy happened. And then I've said this many, many times in my videos, the price of the negotiation dropped a few $1 million in the few days before they had a confession from Chris Watts. So once they had that confession, the price quit dropping. So, money talks, and always in all of these cases, you can follow the money, right? Pretty much always. Even in the Amanda and Meredith Kercher case, because Amanda had 215 euros in her pocket when she was arrested, you guys. 215 euros, which is somewhere in the range of upwards of $250 cash in her pocket. The rent money that Meredith had cash in her room that was missing was 250 euros. So that's a huge, solid piece of evidence too. Amanda was having money trouble. Like, everybody in her family was always sending her money and she was always broke. It seems that she had quite a rug habit. And actually, it was just in True Crime Rocket Science's most recent video today that he brought it up again. Another point that a lot of us haven't heard enough, which is that Miss Knox had an intimate relationship with a big rug dealer of the soda pop kind during the time of Meredith's life being taken. So I've always thought that rugs had a lot to do with it, but it also, has a lot to do with the crazy. I mean, when things like that happen, there's so much crazy going on. looking at Kylie Rodney's case, looking at the Watts case, looking at Micah Miller's case. There's probably serious rugs in all of these cases. Micah Miller's case is the only one that we know of for a fact where there's steroids involved. But I've questioned the possibility of steroids. A lot of people have questioned the possibility of steroids in the Idaho 4 case. I've wondered about it in Kylie Rodney's case. I wonder about it in the Watts case too. That could be why Chris and Kay were cut. People abuse steroids. A lot of people who go to gyms habitually abuse steroids. I mean, I'm a person that goes to a gym habitually at some points in my life. I've never abused a steroid, but I kind of can see it in some of the gyms that I've been at. I can kind of, I mean, you can just kind of tell the people who are roid raging, right? I mean, they're extremely muscular. I think about that actress Linda Hamilton from The Terminator. She played the kid's mom in Terminator 2 that was all ripped because she went to prison and all she did was like chin-ups the whole time she was there. And I don't know if she used steroids to get her body like that. I mean, she was a beautiful young woman with a great physique who then her muscles were just like shredded, you know, like in that ripped kind of way. And I don't know that you can do that so easily without steroids. I think that that's one of the reasons why people use them. But it's not something that people like to talk about because it's illegal. It gives you the whole problem with your man junk getting tiny, which is ironic, right? It also like kind of gives you like a frontal lobotomy. I mean, it makes you have trouble with comprehension. And it also, that's like in the long term. In the short term, it gives you anger issues and impulse control issues. So when you're looking at people unaliving other people, that would make a lot of sense if there's some steroid abuse. Even there in Brian Laundrie with his whole Fight Club thing. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was really interesting recently with Gabby's family at that CrimeCon convention and, you know, promoting domestic violence awareness and also promoting mental health awareness and substance abuse awareness. So to me, that was kind of a subtle way of them saying that Laundrie was abusing substances, which it always seemed like it. I mean, like how jittery he was with those cops. He was like freaking squirrel on caffeine. Remember that character from that cartoon Backyard or something like that, or the squirrel that was drinking coffee all the time? All right, you guys, I am going to wrap up. Like I said, I was going to. Thank you so much for joining me, people. I hope you have a lovely night. I hope that you can get some rest and relaxation. Take good care of yourself, get some exercise and good sleep tonight. Stay hydrated, well nourished, and just find your zen, fight for justice. And thanks so much for joining me, and see you on the next one. Have a great night.